Great, thank you. Sorry, Michael.
Go ahead, Michael.
It's okay. Yeah, so I mean, I've been asked that before, like, what's your ultimate vision? Not necessarily like in the word, but honestly, it really made me think a lot, and I'm glad I did it because it kind of evaluated like what my ultimate goal was after college and into the future. Because then we're challenged with like interesting questions, like what do you want to see change for this world before you die? And it really took me an hour to think about that and actually write down my words a couple times before I analyze like what I really think my vision is. So it was hard, I'll be honest.
It is hard. You know, it's Benjamin Franklin said the hardest thing you'll do is think. So what do you guys think about that? So the hardest thing you'll do is not go do a bunch of hard work, but to think, like actually stop and go, why am I doing that? So I like that. Anybody else? What came out of that for you guys?
Yeah, I've also been asked it before, but I had never been asked those questions because before I always thought about the overall statement. The questions help me think of like almost the underlying statements that go into that mission statement. So like I agree with Michael. I love the one saying, okay, before you die, what's one thing you'd love to see in your life or whatever it was? And that like helped me think, okay, it's bigger than just one single topic. It's an overarching thing rather than just a smaller thing.
That's good. So something bigger. Why do you think we want, I guess I ask some of you guys too, why do you think it is that we want to do something bigger than ourself? What do you like? Why do we even want to like go and do something larger than just our own self?
I think, for any company, that should be a part of their vision or a part of their end goal, to leave the world a better place. Because, it's like they were saying, like, if you're asking yourself where you want to be and the type of life that you want to live and the picture you have of it, you want to make that not just for yourself, but for the world and everyone around.
Yeah. Yeah. So think about it for a minute. So, if the purpose of your life was all about you, okay, and everything that just you wanted for yourself, how really happy do you think you'd be? You probably wouldn't. I mean, you got a little quiet. I think you'd be miserable. Okay. So there's something inside of us already intrinsically that says something inside of me wants to do something that empties out, not just pours into me. Something about me wants to literally be a stream of water that empties out to something else besides just myself, right? And then that's where maybe the place that you start to experience the greatest joy is when you're starting to empty out the things as opposed to just accumulate them, right? Not that it's not good to go after things and have success and all of that, but I think there's something already hardwired in us that says, I wanted something bigger so that I can do it with a bunch of other people and then I can empty myself out as opposed to just get a bunch of stuff and make it about me, myself, and I, right? I think that's where you experience true joy is in those moments in time. So was there anything in particular that excited you guys at all, or anything that stood out that you went, that kind of hit me or excited me or inspired me about the vision?
Are you referring to your guys' vision, like the company's vision?
Sorry, yes, the company vision.
I think personally for me, it was really exciting and encouraging to see how much you guys emphasize serving, because that's something that has been really important to me in my life, and like being able to find a career where I can serve others. And it's not just about profits. It's not just about, the success of a company, but like, how can you take that and serve others? And even how you guys give so generously. You guys talked about the homeless community. That's one area, but just the amount you guys want to pour out and serve to others, I think is amazing. And it excites me to have this opportunity to start this internship.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else? Any other things that kind of stood out to you? If not, it's fine too. Don't feel like you have to.
I thought it was a combination of what Mackie said. I thought it was really, really honorable and showed like your guys' true character by donating over $1 million to the poor and disenfranchised. And at the same time, I thought that putting our efforts into the company, and when you're trying to be, I think you said one of the more innovative technical companies, however you put it, but I think being a part of that and then putting that towards donating and serving others was something that got me really excited about, because most of the time when you talk to companies, they just put the one part, but then they don't necessarily put the other things like serving other people and how generating profit can help other people that are in need.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, anybody else before we go on? Cool. Okay, so that's the vision. So mission, did everybody get a chance to do the mission? I think we did, right? Good, green light. Okay. So if vision is the, call it the what, I think is what we talked about, then what is mission? So mission, you talked a little bit about Mackie. It's the back tire, right? And so that is the how. Okay, so you think what, how, why, which you'll eventually get to. And then there's the principles in between it. So mission is meant to do what? What do you think?
Would it be just like a step of goals, or like basically just how you're going to go about achieving your vision along the way?
Yeah. So I would say it's a truncated, I wouldn't say they're goals, but they are a truncated version. We call it strategy, right? Strategy is more as the overarching truncated principles that you're going to utilize as a architecture of how you're going to pull this off, where tactical things are when you start to get into those more granular things of how those steps you're going to take in order to get those. And so this is our truncated version of how we're going to get there, how we're going to pull this off from a strategic perspective in order to ascertain the vision. Okay, because remember what I said is a vision without a mission is just a pipe dream, right? It's something you just kind of go, oh, that would be a cool dream, but it doesn't really have any teeth to it, because you haven't thought through, well, then how do I actually pull that off? Like, what are the things I need to do in order to actually get there? And so the strategy helps us get a little bit more handlebars around how to pull off the vision. Okay. So do you remember what the acronym was? Just put you guys on the spot a little bit here, or maybe you have your notes in front of you. Either way is fine. But what was the acronym for the mission?
Was it well?
Wasn't it weld?
Yeah,
Same time.
exactly. One of my coaches always said to me, he goes, you got to stop doing acronyms. There's too many of them. So yeah, WELD is the acronym. Okay. So what was the first one? Do you remember? Here we go. Class is on. So remember, winning proactive partners, right? So winning proactive partners, if you guys remember that, right? Do you remember that one? Do you remember what that was all about? With kind of lenders, vendors. So if we're trying to be this innovative and proactive company, then what we have to do is we have to hitch up, we have to connect and collaborate and bring on people to the organization that have the skill set and the frame of mind in order to move in that direction. So let me give an example. We could have the most proactive system, but if I partner up with a lender who's flopping over themselves to the finish line, how successful do you think that experience is going to be for the client? Not, right? I mean, they're just going to go, hey, of course you did everything you possibly could, but it didn't matter because all I experienced was this other institution that was just kind of couldn't get their act together. And that's what they remembered. And that was their experience, right? I mean, how much thought went into Starbucks when you go in to get your coffee and all the little things. I mean, they think about all the way down to the flooring and how it's going to look, right? Because they understand what it is that you're going to connect with when you walk inside. So it's not about the coffee, right? It's about the experience you go into. So linking up with not only employees, so employees, people we hire, have to be thinking that way too, right? Because if they're not bought into it, then it doesn't matter. So you've got to get the right people on the bus in order to get the bus to go the right direction and to have success, right? Otherwise, you guys are kind of moving in all these directions and it's inconsistent. So the first thing we have to do is we have to win those people. We have to be willing to bring all that on so that we can be cohesive about the way we're going. Okay, if you think about it, if you get in a boat together, I was playing this game with my son the other night on the Wii, and it was like a canoeing game. And, you know, he was trying to go one direction and I was trying to go one direction. And so we were doing circles. We're going around and around and around, you know, but if you have all these people and they're not rowing in the same direction, all you experience is frustration. Okay. So the first thing you have to do is to win those types of people in the organization, externally and internally, in order to get there. Make sense? Is that any questions around that? Okay. Because that's really important.
I don't have a question, but
Yeah.
I actually have to go.
Yeah.
I have class.
Great.
But the video will be on. How will I get the rest of the video?
The rest of the video should be, we will give that to you through the makeup session. We will link it on there at the very bottom. It'll say it, and then you can watch the rest of the video. Have
Great,
fun in
thank
your
you.
class.
Yes, accounting. Thank you. I will.
Gotta love it. Debits and credits, baby. All right. So, so the second one is E, which is to engage strategic growth capital. Okay. What do you think that's all about? Engage strategic growth capital.
You talked about like launching further and faster. So I think that kind of comes along with like the innovation of technology and like kind of focusing on having that mindset. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when you think about strategic growth capital, is if we bring on some of these equity partners or individuals that get what we're trying to do and have the money behind it, but also the connections that we need, then what you do is you just go from 0 to 60 real fast, right? Because they have the ability to press the gas further and faster. That's why we said better together. So if we can go further faster together and there's a bigger piece of that pie, then that just makes a lot of sense. So what we have to do is to engage those people and bring them under the fold in order for them to push this a lot further and faster. And so that's the second piece for us to get to that end game, because we can't just do it by ourselves. We need that capital. We need those partners in order to get to that end game. Okay, so we got to win the proactive partners, engage strategic growth capital. And then what's the third thing? Remember the L? I love it. I've got you guys on your heels.
Yes, you do.
It's all right. So leveraging technology. So we're going to leverage the technology and foster innovation. Okay, so leverage technology and foster innovation. So what do I mean by leveraging technology and fostering innovation?
I think for that one, you mentioned how one of the plans is to close loans in like 20 days.
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but also using the up and coming technology to achieve that goal.
Correct. Yeah. So we have to, so when you think about leveraging something, right? If I try to go and I'm trying to lift the car, right, I'm not going to be able to pull that off. But if I pull that crank out and I'm leveraging it up, right, it just goes up. In fact, I could probably do it with one hand, right? Just push the car and it kind of goes up because I have a crank that helps me leverage what it is that's going on. So the technology is there to leverage us to go faster and quicker to pull off the things that we need to, but it's not meant to replace the human touch, okay? Because what's happened is a lot of people just completely cut out as if somehow we're a bunch of robots and think that we don't need human engagement, right? So we think there's a blend of both of those where we can leverage technology to make the experience much more, influential and engaging without losing that human touch, because you could get frustrated real fast if you just deal with technology. But then we want to foster innovation, which means going back to the winning product of partners, we have to have people in here that are in an environment, and I think Michelle will attest to this, but they're in an environment where they feel like they have the freedom and they have the desire to begin to offer their creative ideas and whatever it is that they think they can participate in order to create innovation, okay? Because like I said, we have to create an environment where we're spending time thinking through these things, because one of our mottos in here is that innovation comes out of frustration. So innovation comes out of frustration. So when you experience a frustration, everybody usually is like, oh, I can't stand that, that's annoying. What we say is that's a blessing. What's the frustration and how can we create innovation out of the frustration? Okay. Think about Zoom that you're on right now. Came out of frustration. Okay. Think about Uber that you used before. Two guys over in Europe that were frustrated trying to use a taxi cab and they couldn't get one. So they came up with rideshare. It was a multi-billion-dollar company. So the idea is that we want to foster these ideas inside of your mind and put it in a place where we can breathe that into everybody's life. So does that make sense? So leveraging technology, fostering innovation so that we have that two-prong approach to make sure that we are creating new products for the market, okay? So the D then is what? Does anybody want to take a stab at that? I'm continuing to put you guys in uncomfortable circumstances. So welcome to Integrity Capital.
I have notes on it, but you go for it, Skylar.
Oh, I was just going to say, is it deepen relationships with the clients?
Good job.
I don't have notes, but I remember that one.
Okay, good job. So what do I mean by that? What is deepening the relation? Like you probably go like, who cares? But like, why does that even matter?
When we care about the people we work with, they care about us. They want to invest in like your guys' company. And I think that relationships are in every aspect of our life. Like we can't escape relationship. And like the ultimate relationship we should have is with God, and having a good relationship with God will help us to have relationships with other people in our lives, and deepening those relationships just shows that you care for them and that you want the best for them. And in turn, like they're going to respect you and they're going to want to continue to work with you, and it's going to ultimately produce an abundance of fruit.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Like we want to care and pour out to those people that are our clients, right? We need to deepen those relationships for a couple different reasons. The first one is obviously what you just said. Need to really care about them and what's in their best interest. That'll go back to our value system, the Christ model, right? Others are more important. In this particular context, what we're trying to say is that if I come to you and I say, hey, Mackie, I got this great device. You're going to love it. Here it is. But you go, well, gosh, Dave, you didn't even ask me any questions. You don't even like, what do you even know what I'm frustrated about? Do you even know like why I'm frustrated about it? Or do you even understand like what my daily routine is and like what I've been experiencing? And, so if I don't understand you and I don't really extract all these questions to you, I don't really know how to serve you best. right? I don't really know what's going to help you. I can speculate, but I don't really know. And so part of our job here is that we need to be super intentional about deepening those relationships with our clients so that we can really know them. Hey, how's that gone for you? What's been your frustration? And encourage them to share some of those frustrations. I did that about 30 days ago with a handful of clients, and I consistently heard the same thing over and over again. The paperwork just drives me bananas. It's so much paperwork. And then when they ask me for paperwork, then they ask for more paperwork, and it just, I can't stand that, right? Or it takes too long. So I'm just learning about them and experiencing and being curious. So that's how we deepen relationships, is by being curious, asking curious questions and not being judgmental. So again, those 4 things, right? Winning the proactive partners, okay, and engaging strategic growth capital, leveraging technology, and fostering innovation, and then deepening the relationships with the clients by really understanding them, is really instrumental for us to get to that end vision from a strategic perspective. Those 4 things are how we're going to make our goals, how we're going to do strategy. All those things are going to go around that end game, right? So what do you guys think? Does that make sense to you? Do you disagree with that? Is there anything you want to push back on?
I just had a question, just out of curiosity. How do you guys kind of foster that innovation within your company? Like, what are you guys doing like today, as of today, that you're trying to bring in that innovation? Because I know it's like you guys work with like loans, and I guess, thinking about like a financial company, that's not necessarily what you would think of, which I think is great, but.
Yeah, great question. So the first way we do it, and Michelle, feel free to chime in if you feel like you want to add anything to this, is fostering an environment where people feel safe to share what they really think. Okay. I know that sounds probably a little bit like you're going, how does that have to do anything with innovation? And my response to it is, if you don't feel safe to be who you are and to share what you really think, then you're going to shut down and you're not going to have an environment. So let's say Mackie comes to me and says, hey, you know what? I was just thinking like da, 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 da. And I look at it and you go, no, why would you even come up with that? You're going to go, okay, I'm not asking that again. I'm going to get slapped in the cookie jar every time I come in and ask. So the very first thing we have to do is to create a safe place that you feel like, okay, I have a voice on things, I have ideas, and I want them to be heard. Now, whether those all get accepted is a different story, but that's okay, because we want to foster a place that has what we call ideological conflict. It means it's a place that you are totally okay to just throw ideas, and then everybody can kind of wrestle around with them and not get offended by the fact that it's personalized. We're just trying to just get ideas out there. And then you feel like, okay, my ideas are heard. Everything might not be accepted, but it is encouraged for me to like share this stuff and not hold back. So that's the first thing. So I don't know, Michelle, if you want to chime in on that at all.
Yeah, thank you. I think the second part to that, creating that safe environment, is this idea of successful failures. So successful failures are celebrated because basically, so a failure is just something that fails and then, nothing ever comes of it. A successful failure is something you actually learn from. You take the information, the knowledge that you gained, and you move forward on a better foot. And so we really celebrate the successful failure because it helps us to grow. And so for me, coming onto the team, that's been really instrumental in making me feel safe here. I can make decisions without feeling like stuck or frozen, in fear that I'm going to make the wrong informed decision. So I think the amount of freedom that we get here to make good, solid decisions, and then, you know, if they end up failing, it's okay. We get to learn from them. And then we get to celebrate together that, like, hey, that was a growth opportunity and we took it in stride. So I hope that I'm coming through okay, because I think my internet's not very good, but successful failures, I think, is really, really good for innovation.
That's great. Great point. So the first thing we do is we set the stage to foster you guys to feel safe, to go, yes, okay, I can share this. I'm in a place that I feel really comfortable and I can just share ideas and not get slapped, okay? Or be belittled or whatever that is. The second thing is intentionality. Means that we have set times that we put aside to foster these things. I bring up topics. I just did this with one of the employees last Friday, where I literally blocked out an hour and we walked through some of the sales stuff and we were challenging it, like saying, well, why do we do things this way? Like, why don't we do something different? And why would we want to do something different? How would we do it? So we were just poking holes in this whole thing, coming up with ideas. And then we had steps we were going to take when we left to come back and try to follow up on it. So it's intentionality, creating the environment, and then picking the right team to be able to do that in. And then obviously having a plan to actually follow through and execute on those things so that we don't let something just, again, become a pie in the sky idea, right? So does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Good. Good questions. Really good questions. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing. We've got about 19 minutes. So we talked the next one, and I don't know if, did anybody get through the core convictions? I don't want to go too fast, too far, but I don't know if everybody got through the core convictions yet.
I've watched the video,
Yeah,
not the
I haven't
assignment
gotten
yet.
completely through it yet either. And I was also going to say, I have a presentation to go to, so I'm going to have to leave. I feel like now might be a good time, but I'll watch the rest of this later. And thank you guys so much. Have a good rest of your day.
Have a great one, my friend. Okay,
Good luck.
Mike, did you get a chance to do the core convictions yet?
I think possibly, I can't quite remember. It was later last night. So can you reflect on what it was?
So
and then it may ring a bell.
Yeah, the acronym was CHASE. Do you remember CHASE? So it was the
No, I did not then.
all right. Well, what I'll do, we'll give a tad of a spoiler alert, is, yeah, well, let's do this. Why, when I talk about core convictions, what comes to mind? I guess let's start there. What comes to mind?
Okay. Well, for me, like, core convictions is purely what everything is about. Like, what's at the core of, like you were saying earlier, what's at the core of the vision? Like, why are you doing it? For me, it's like the why. It's like, we're doing this because of this.
Okay.
And then at your core, it's what you guys stand for, like why we're doing it and what we stand for.
Yeah, that's good. So yeah, so something that we stand on. So hang on to that, right? So when I say to you, I have these certain values, okay? A mentor of mine said years ago, he said, there's a big difference between your value system and your core convictions. Values are something that you would like to have. They would be nice twos. Core convictions are things that you're not going to bend on, okay?
Okay.
So I might value not eating a pint of ice cream every weekend, but there's a high probability Mr. Cotter is going to pull a pint of ice cream out on Saturday night. Okay. But so at the end of the day, that's very different than a core conviction where I say, you know what? I will not lie under any circumstance. And that means if you put me in an awkward circumstance or you have to, maybe I'll lose a deal because of it, then I'm not going to budge. Okay. I'm not willing to bend on these core convictions in my life. Okay. Now, some people might still call them values. We call them core convictions because these are our bedrock. These aren't nice tos. These are just like, this is what we stand for here. Okay. So you could call them value systems. Some people might say they're the same thing. I don't think they are, but some people might use those in their company, see these are values and slap them on the wall. We've thought through them to say, this has got to be driven into the fiber of the DNA and how we function. Now, if I give you core convictions, then what's going to happen the minute that I tell you these are our core convictions? What are you going to look for when I give those to you?
Say if they kind of match up. I mean, not going like to values, but is it something that you have held and cherished close to you in your life and growing up? If those are things that you have also considered not bending on.
Yeah. So think about this for a minute. If I said to you, our values are that we believe in, let's say that I say, we believe in just being honest no matter what happens. Okay. And let's say that you're working with me and a client comes in and says, hey, Dave and Mike, I'm working on this project. I'm working on a second project, but what I want you to do for sure is do not tell the lender about the second project because there's a high probability I won't get it done. Because if they see that I'm doing two projects, then, they might get scared. So I just want you to withhold that information. And then you watch me and I say to the client, absolutely, that's totally fine. We will honor that. Okay. What are you thinking in that moment?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is what you originally told me when I came on board.
Right.
Hey, we don't do this. So I would say, okay, that sounds a little hypocritical. What's going on here? And then maybe just to not interfere with the client right now, I would personally ask you like, hey, why did you do that? You told me that this is what you're all about. Technically, you're lying to me now. So if I have to reconsider something, this may have to be something, or we can talk about why you made your decision.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you're saying in that moment is the minute I tell you, these are the core beliefs and core convictions, is that you are personally going to watch to see if we actually live that way. Okay. Which means that as soon as we set those out there and we get really clear about how they work and how we live them out, guess what? We've just set an environment that is all about accountability, isn't it? Okay. So now all of a sudden we're in a place where we just put ourselves and elevated this thing called accountability, because I'm saying, I'm asking you to hold me accountable to these things. Because if I'm not, then I expect you to call me out on it, because that's your responsibility, right? So that's why core convictions are so important, because that's how we make decisions, right? Like if I don't have any core convictions, then all of a sudden I was on a phone call, years ago with a bunch of guys all across the country. And they were talking about wanting to finance a strip club. And my response to them was, why don't you not do it? And one of the guys on the phone call said, well, I try to leave my morals at home. And I was really quiet because I wanted him to think about what he just said. And he said to me, that sounded really dumb, didn't it? And I said, you said it, I didn't, right? But so the point is that when we set these things in here, we now set a bar for how we would make decisions, right? Like we don't do those types of things. I don't do those types of loans. We don't do that, right? Because we have a very deep set of core convictions. And so that's how we're going to make choices. That's how we're going to make decisions, is based upon those things that are the bedrock for how we function. Now, do you think that that creates, Mackie, I'll ask you this. Do you think that creates peace of mind?
I would say so, just because if you know that you're going to stand by your core convictions and you show that you're being honest and you follow through with everything, then you can rest assured that that you're in good hands, basically what I'm trying to say. So as like a client, and even like a coworker, I would feel very peace of mind knowing that you're in an honest environment,
right,
and you don't have to worry about like unethical behaviors or just things sliding under the rug that makes you feel uncomfortable and kind of not wanting to go to work.
Exactly. Yeah. So if let's say you're in a friendship for a minute, and that friendship, that friend of yours, comes up to you, and about every time you meet them, they start back talking somebody else that they're supposedly friends with. Okay. Hey, so and so, blah 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 blah. Right. What do you start doing in your own mind about that person?
You definitely start thinking like, I wonder what they're saying about me. And then you like, if they're doing this about this person, like they probably are saying something about me. And then it just makes you not want to like necessarily be friends with them, because it's like they're just going behind my back and talking behind my back, and
Right.
that's not fair.
Yeah. So you lose trust, right? So what we're trying to do is to foster trust. So if we have a set of core convictions, it's meant to help us make decisions, and it's help us to build trust. So if all of a sudden, here's how you build trust. There's three things. So proximity, duration, and intensity. Okay. So you have to see me. So once you guys see me for a while, that's the duration. There's enough time behind it. And then I give you the appropriate intensity, which means that in that intensity, that you're experiencing things that are in positive intensity. Okay. So I could give you the power of proximity, and I could give you the power of duration, but I could also be lying to you. Okay, so that would be the opposite of the intensity. And so your trust with me would go down. But if I have those three things and it's positive intensity, then all of a sudden you're going to experience trust. And you're going like, okay, I trust this guy. It's consistent. It keeps happening. I feel safe. I know that I could, this is, and so now I have peace of mind because I'm like, okay, this works and I'm okay. It's not perfect. And the beauty is, even if it's not perfect and he deviates from it, I get the ability to speak into that without getting beat up. Then that even creates more trust, because then I know I feel like I'm not going to get beat up if I say something, right? So now you have this environment that starts fostering growth, fostering opportunities to push. And that's where things really start to take off. Okay. So it's super important for you guys to understand that underneath these core convictions is a purpose. We're trying to do something to create an environment where people feel like they can be safe, they can grow, they can have peace of mind, and so they can thrive ultimately and be the best version of themselves in the way that they function. Because we're not isolated individuals. Everything we do affects the other thing. So does that make sense to you guys? What do you think about that?
Go ahead. I see. I'm looking on the side to see.
Who goes first?
I just really appreciate it. I appreciate the honesty and that you guys care enough to even just like take the time to explain this to us. And I think that there's a lot of companies out there that like, yeah, they're successful, but it's kind of just like, oh, it's a vision mission statement. Like it's there because they kind of have to have it, or just whatever, it's their drive. But the fact that you guys are going in depth about the core convictions and the reasons why makes it easier to want to be a part of a culture like this, just because it's like it's encouraging and it gives you peace of mind that you'll be in like good hands, and that this environment like cares about you and wants to know like your thoughts and your ideas, and it's not just, you're not just a part of a team just because you're there to work. You're part of like a family.
Not just to punch a clock.
Yeah.
It's good. What about you, Mike?
No, I completely agree with what Mackie said. I have worked in some places, like she said, bigger companies that they represent their like revenue, all this and that, and like I said, they have core values on the side of the wall. But if you went up to any employee and said, "Hey, what do you guys represent?" It should be like, "I have no idea." And I think it's awesome because, like you said, out of frustration, it fosters innovation. And I like the open door policy to be able to go to someone like yourself or Michelle and say, "Hey, I have this idea. I don't want to sound really dumb and ridiculous. Can I tell you it?" And just having the openness for you both to say, "Yes, let's talk. You never know. You may be on the same mindset and we're about to share it with some other people and say, hey, I really like your idea. Let's combine ideas."
I like that. That's awesome. Michelle, do you have any closing thoughts on your part before I wrap us up?
Yeah, well, just to answer your question there, I think for me, I've had a similar experience to Michael. As you know, I've worked for other organizations, and one specifically, can you guys hear me? I just got a notification that I'm unstable.
Well, I'm very
okay, great. Yeah, yes, we know that, Dave, we know. I think, you know, I worked for another team and for a real estate team at one point, and we had these core values and we had a mission statement, and none of it was upheld by the leader of our company. And so that was super hard, super hard environment to work in. And it really, you know, took away all of the trust that we should have in our leader. We didn't have it. And so I know firsthand what it's like to work for a company that doesn't uphold their mission statement or their values or their convictions. And now to be on this team, I feel incredibly blessed. I feel a ton of peace of mind. And I feel like I can finally allow my creative thoughts to come out, you know, as far, you know, with the innovation conversation, I feel like I'm finally able to innovate and create and to be really a part of the process and a part of the team, because I am in this safe place where the values and the convictions and the mission statement are all like rock solid. So anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Thanks, Michelle. That's great. And she's amazing. So we're very blessed to have her. So I think that's going to wrap it up for today. Okay. So great job. I just want to continue to encourage you guys, just go through the content, do the assignments. There's going to be some stuff where you're going to have to collaborate together, which is by design. We want you to start interacting with each other. And there'll be a section, actually, you're going to go through an innovation project. So that'll be fun to kind of see you guys let your juices flow a little bit. So I'm super thankful for you guys, and you're doing great. So keep it up, and then we will plan on seeing you guys on Monday. So just go ahead and keep knocking this stuff out. And again, if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to reach out to Michelle or myself, and we'll definitely answer anything that you need. Okay.
Sweet. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Guys, thanks, Mike and Mac.